In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create a glitch text effect inside of Adobe After Effects. So let's get into it. So first step is we need to actually create some text. So we'll go to the T icon, type in your video, and we'll type out a word or phrase of your choice. Now we're just going to position this in the center and just make sure that the anchor point is down there. There we go. So that's bang in the center. Now to change the look of your text, you want to go into the character window. And if you can't see that, then go into window and make sure character is enabled. But then you can change the font, you can change the weight of your font, you can change the size, you can change the line height if you've got multiple different lines, you can go into stroke width if you wanted to create a stroke. And in order to create that stroke, let's say this is what you have, all you would do is press this box to make sure that is enabled and then select the no fill color and then make sure your stroke is enabled. But once you're happy with that, we can now proceed with the glitching text effect. So to create a glitch, we want to create 3 versions of this text. So we'll go Command C and then VV. So if you're on Mac, that is Command and C and Command and V, or if you're on Windows, that is Control C, Control V, so that is just copy and paste. So we're just going to go onto that top layer, we're going to go into character, and we are just going to turn this red. Then we'll go to the layer below, we'll turn the stroke to blue. Then we'll go to the bottom layer and we'll change this stroke to green. So video is made up of 3 different colors. You've got red, green, and blue. And by creating 3 different text layers, all at this RGB color value, we can now essentially get them to work and clash with each other to create this cool glitching effect. So the next step is to change the blend mode. So on the top layer, you want to go into mode, which should be here. And if it's not here, then just right click, select columns and make sure modes is enabled. Again, if you can't still see that, then just go on to toggle switches / modes. Now the top menu should be screen, the second text should also be screen, and now you'll see if you leave the bottom at normal, we now have white text again. However, when we move one of these texts, you can see that we get this glitch effect appear. And that is going to be the basis of this animation. So you can use any effect that you like here. So if we go into effects and presets, and we just go into distort, we can play with any of these effects to create an interesting glitch. And this is why this technique is really powerful, because you're not restricted to one specific type of glitch. You can make many different variations. So we could maybe go into wave warp, drop that on the second glitch layer. And as you can see already, that looks pretty cool. But you can see we can change the wave type to sine, square, triangle, sawtooth. These are all going to give you different glitches, but I'm going to go for square because that is the traditional glitch effect. Let's pull the wave height down to 0. We'll create a new keyframe on the wave height. We'll move over 2 frames, increase that all the way up to a high number, and then we'll go a few frames over again and back down. Then we'll go to a negative number, and then we'll go a few frames over again and back to 0. So if we open up the glitch layer, we'll go into effects, wave warp. You can see this is what we did. So we started at 0, then we went to 191, negative 213, and then back to 0. So when we play this back, that creates this cool glitch. And we can copy those keyframes and just paste those on at multiple different times, and that will keep glitching. Now, it's not just that one channel that you can do this on. If we copy the wave warp effect and we add that onto the layer above, now when we go into this, you can see it's also glitching on this red channel here. So again, I'm just going to copy and paste all of those keyframes, but this time I'm going to change the look from square to triangle, and you can see that's going to give us a different look. So when we play this back, my computer is being really slow. I do apologize. So I'm going to drop this into 3rd quality so that this renders. You can see we've got this cool glitch. And of course, I'm just going to add one more onto the bottom layer. So I'm just going to copy wave warp, go to the bottom layer and paste that on. Now I am just going to move those keyframes over so they're not clashing with the other keyframes. And we are going to change that from triangle to sawtooth. So you can see that looks different again. So you can see we've created this glitching effect, but we could also do this with maybe a blur, for example. So if we go to blur and we go directional blur, for example. We'll put that on the middle layer. Now we're going to go towards that animation, so when it starts to glitch out, we'll go into directional blur, create a brand new keyframe on blur length at 0. Then we'll go 2 frames over, we'll increase this to a really high number, and then we'll move over again and pull that to 0. So when we play this back, you can see it actually creates this interesting effect. So again, I'm going to copy and paste that blur on, clashing with those keyframes and also not, and that's creating that glitch. Now at the moment, every single layer is being affected separately and the whole thing isn't being affected as one piece. So I'm going to go into Layer, New, Null Object, select all of those layers, and we're going to use the Pick Whip tool and drag that onto Null 2. So these are all now linked to the null object, and whenever we make a change to the null object, it will affect all 3 layers at the same time. Now we'll go into transform, and you can see if I adjust position, if I adjust scale, they're all going to be affected at the same time. So I'm going to hold Option on the keyboard, and I believe if you're on Windows that is Alt. I'm going to select scale, and we're going to type in the expression wiggle, open brackets, and we'll keep it quite subtle to begin with. Let's go 2,5 and then click out. So don't press enter, just click out. You can see that is how that looks. Now I'm going to change the second number to 50. See how that changes things. You can see that's moving around a lot, but that's not the glitch effect that we want. So let's maybe go to the first option and we'll change that one to 20. So by pulling the first number up to 20, it's going to become quite fidgety. And if we change the second number to maybe 2, you can see it's getting really fidgety. And we'll do the same thing on position as well. So we'll hold Option, select the stopwatch next to position, and we'll type in wiggle, open brackets, we'll go 30,1. So it's going to be fidgeting around a lot, but the position is also going to change a bit. I might change the 1 into a 3 just so we get some movement in there. So I'm just going to highlight everything there. We'll right click and pre-compose this and put it in a pre-comp. So this is what we have so far. If we go into effects and presets and we search for glow, we're just going to drop glow onto that glitch layer. We'll increase the glow radius. We'll decrease the threshold and then increase the radius even more. And that is going to give us this nice subtle glow. Of course, as well, if you wanted to, you could add a glow expression. So if we go into the pre-comp, go into effects, glow, and we go to glow intensity, we could go Option, wiggle, open brackets, maybe 2 and 5. See how that looks? That might be too much, so let's maybe go for, let's go 8 and 1. So there's how that looked, but I am just going to pull down the glow radius. And then I'll also increase the threshold, just so this is nice and subtle. But you can see we've got this nice glitching, glowing effect happening at the same time as the glitch. Now, if you wanted to, you could also add maybe another level of glitching here. So we can go back into Wave Warp, drop that onto this pre-comp. And now if we set the wave height to 0, create a brand new keyframe on wave height, then we'll go 2 or 3 frames over, increase the wave height to a positive number. Then we'll go across 2 frames again, decrease that to a smaller number, and then go back another 2 frames and go back to 0. You can see that is how that looks. So as well as the glitching on the individual channels, we're also glitching everything as a whole. And same thing again, you can just copy and paste all of those keyframes that we created on Wave Warp over and over and over again. So if we play this back from the very beginning, this is what we are left with. So you can see it's this really intense glitching effect. Now, if you wanted to as well, we could also animate the direction. So if we go to the beginning, create a brand new keyframe on direction, scroll through to the end, and we'll just put this first number maybe up to 3. So it's going to spin around 3 times. You can see it's going to change the look of this glitch here. And of course, let's take it up even one more notch. This is going to be the final notch. Let's go for a strobe effect. So if we go to effects and presets and search for strobe light, Drop that on. We want to change the strobe to makes layer transparent. And you can see at the moment that's not looking how we want it to look. So we are just going to adjust a few settings here. So we'll go strobe duration, pull that down to 0.1. So you can see this is what we end up with if we keep the strobe duration at 0.1 and the strobe period as 1. Obviously, we're only seeing it for a little bit, so we're going to copy that. On the layer below, we're going to delete the strobe light effect. And then on the layer above, we're just going to increase the scale. So we'll increase that all the way up to around 200. And there we go. You can see we've got that glitch layer coming through on the strobe light effect, and it's much bigger, so it's really in the foreground. So there were many different steps to get to this point, but the great thing is with the glitch effect is it's really just as simple as separate your text onto red, green and blue and then change a value. That is how you create a glitch effect. But with the glitching, you can stack layers on top of each other. You can pre-compose, add another glitch, pre-compose again, add another layer, and really make it interesting and unique. But it really is a case of layering up and getting to a point that you are happy with. But personally, I feel like we've got to a really interesting and really nice result here with this process. So jump into After Effects and have a play with this glitching text effect. And of course, if you enjoyed this tutorial, then please do press that subscribe button and maybe even check out this video just here. See you there.